we have a question from Carrigan. How much better did Utah get upgrading from Derek Favors to Hassan Whiteside, George Niang to Rudy Gay, and adding Eric Paschall and Jared Butler? Not to mention they didn't really have to give up anything huge. Look, I will say anytime teams have to trade away first-round picks that are that far into the future to lop off money, I think it's a concern. And so the Jazz right now, they traded away number 30, which at that point, given where Jared Butler fell, I probably had Jared Butler in the top 15 of my big board. Teams must be mega concerned about his health. I think he's going to be a fantastic player. I'm interested to see what kind of opportunity he gets in Utah. I think he's just someone who can be, maybe he'll give you like a good amount of shot creation at some point, but someone who could be like a smaller 3-and-D type player, and if he's healthy. So I think that's a great pickup for them, which I think he was at number 40. I couldn't believe how much he fell. I think Eric Paschall is interesting. I'll be curious to see how they kind of use him. I'm assuming he'll play a bunch at the 4, but is he someone else you could slide to the small ball 5? And to wrap up my tangent about the picks, they have their 2022 pick is owed to Memphis, top 6 or top 8 protected, whatever it is. And then they now have 2024 pick was sent out as well. I believe as part of the favor salary dump in Oklahoma City. So I'm ultimately fine with that because they still paid Mike Conley, and they're still very much, as of now, we'll see how the rest of the offseason / they have the entire regular season to duck it, but their tax bill is going to be pretty damn pricey. And, you look at, last season, they were in the tax sort of. Like, it was a sub $5 million tax bill. This year, their tax bill is going to be closer to $30 million at the moment. And so I commend a team like Utah in that market for, as of right now, you still made, yes, you locked off salary, but you made some buy now plays. And I love the idea of Rudy Gay as a small ball 5 because I still think this team lacks athleticism on the wings, and that could come back to bite them because there are certain matchups where it's not that Rudy Gobert is a liability, it's that everyone in front of him is such a liability in that matchup that you're asking him to do too much at that point, and that's how he gets into trouble. So Rudy Gay is a 5. I think if you go up against the Clippers again, who won't be at full strength probably without Kawhi, and you need to downsize for a little bit, I think he, and to a lesser extent, Eric Paschall, give you that option. And so I very much think that their offseason so far is flown under the radar. And look, as of right now, they have not traded Bojan Bogdanovic, 6th man of the year Jordan Clarkson, or Joe Ingles as part of a move to cut their tax bill. Maybe that's to come. I hope it's not. But just looking at everything else that they've done on the margins, I think this is a team, even though Hassan Whiteside is a better fit for them than Derek Favors, full stop. It's the same archetype of player on offense as Rudy Gobert, nowhere near as well as good. I want to make that clear. But it's easier for probably a Mike Conley or a Jordan Clarkson or even a Donovan Mitchell to just get used to playing with that same type of screen setter, lob catcher type player. So I think they had a really good offseason, and I'm very curious to see how. I don't think it'll be often, but I am curious to see will they go to maybe is Rudy Gay at points just their primary backup 5. I think it's an interesting proposition, and I think they did well to get him. Their glaring void is still just the athleticism on the wings. They need that bigger, quicker wing defender that they just don't have, and that comes with the caveat of every single team either needs that guy or wants more of those guys.
I'm excited to see what Paschall can do as another offensive initiator, creator on the second unit. If you have him with his ability to break down bigger defenders with the spin moves and the quickness, and you have Jordan Clarkson who can create a shot at the drop of a hat, and you have Rudy Gay floating on the wings ready to crash towards the board on a cut. This is an exciting second unit. And we know how strong Utah's starters are. I'm also excited to see what Hassan Whiteside can do with a little bit of defensive development. He has not really played alongside or behind a dominant defensive big basically forever. And we know that he has the natural physical talent to be a game-changing force on that end. We've seen him do it in spurts where he can challenge for a triple-double with blocks, but he's always been prone to chase rebounds at the expense of making the right box out player to chase blocks and set it up for an easy dump off and layup while he's in the air. But practicing with Rudy Gobert, a generational defensive presence every day, if he is able to pick up a few little pieces, a few little nuggets that give him more discipline on that end, that could be a terrifying 1-2 defensive punch.
Yeah, and it's interesting how far, I don't think they necessarily needed it, but it's just interesting how far Utah has leaned into shot creation, because even Rudy Gay, it's slow-mo at this point, but he can give you some of that. And then Eric Paschall is a guy who wants to get to his spot in the mid-range or post up. And remember, 2 years ago, the biggest thing was the Jazz need extra shot creators, and now they just have them for days.
So many of them.
I'm not saying Paschall and Rudy Gay are going to win them a playoff series, but it's just interesting how the dynamics of this roster has changed. I will say, would you argue there is, I guess it's equal, not more, but there's they haven't done anything to alleviate the pressure on Rudy Gobert, correct, defensively?
No, they've not. I mean, I think that you can more reasonably play Whiteside as a ridiculously poor man's simulacrum of his defensive impact. And they didn't necessarily have that in the past, because even if Favors is a good interior defender, he's never been as comfortable switching out onto the perimeter, providing those chase down blocks within the half court set that Gobert is so good at. So even if Whiteside is remarkably inferior on that end of the court, he at least offers them a chance to play a somewhat similar style. And they haven't had that.
They really, I thought, and he's not the Josh Richardson that he was in Miami 2 years ago, but had they been able to pick up Josh Richardson, or I even thought he has more trade value at the moment. Maxi Kleber or Josh Richardson, both, well, Maxi Kleber is still a Maverick, but both Mavericks last year, those were just two players where I'm I know you could do this with any player, but I was just looking at mid-end type players who could make a huge difference. And I'll do this a lot with all the teams, but with Utah, it's if you put Maxi Kleber or Josh Richardson on this team, I might be inclined to make them the West favorite next year. Mm-hmm. So it's just something to watch.